Hello and welcome back to the Electronics YouTube channel. Today we'll be doing another coding video, this time concerning a coding project, which is a Python calculator. Now this calculator utilizes Tkinter, which is a built-in module to Python in the standard package. If you were to get the latest version, it should come with from 3.6 to say the least. It shouldn't be too new of a version. So if you have any issues with that, just reinstall Python, get the latest version, and then use Tkinter. However, you should not encounter any issues with that. So what I'm doing here on the first two lines is we're importing the two modules from Tkinter, or really it's one module. It's just two imports. And the third line we're going to write here actually opens our Tkinter window, which is a graphic user interface. So basically what this is doing is creating a sort of screen that we can see buttons and interact with them and see text boxes, so the user is able to interact with the code instead of just answering it through the regular Python shell. So what we're going to do first is create the entry boxes. And the first one's going to be entry 1 ttk.entry, and then it's going to be on the root screen. So I'm going to type root in the parentheses, and then the text will be first number here. Now the text isn't actually going to show up on the code, but we're just going to put that so you guys can understand kind of what's going on in the code and what it represents. Now these first two entry boxes are representing which, when the user is going to put in, basically these entry boxes are what the user is going to put their numbers inside of. So these are kind of like just blank boxes that user goes and puts their numbers in. It's a two-value calculator. There's only two values, and then they could choose if they want to add, multiply, subtract, or divide. Now what I did here with the grid is I position it in row 1 and column 1. Now you could put it in any row or column that you wanted to. We're just going to put it there so it'll be organized nicer. And once we kind of run the code, you guys will see and be able to understand, and I'll explain a little more, but you guys will understand just a little bit better of how it works. Okay, so the second thing we're going to do is we're going to create another entry box, and also root, and this one will be for the second number. So text equals second number here. So where the second number is going to go. And then again, we're going to position it on the grid, and we're going to put it in row 1 and column 2. Okay, now let's make the third entry box. What the third entry box is going to do is it's basically going to be where the user gets the result from. So this is where the result of the operation, whichever operation they chose, actually comes out of. So the text is going to be result, because that's if they multiplied, divide, or subtracted. Depending on what they did, that's where the answer is going to come out here. But depending on what they did, the answer is going to differ, right? So then we're going to position it, and it's going to be in row 6, column 2. So it's going to be moved over a little. It's going to be separated. Now that we've done those, we need to create the functions for the actual operations of the calculator. So the first one is actually 3 lines of code. It's not even that difficult. It's entry1.get and b equals entry2.get. And then we're going to have entry, I'll explain this in a second, entry3.insert and 0, and then a string of integer a plus integer b, and then we'll close off the parentheses. So basically it's setting the a and b values to whatever the user puts in entry 1 and entry 2, and then entry 3 is just the code is inserting the string of integer a and integer b added together, because this is the add function. Now we're going to copy paste these 3 lines because the rest are very similar. It's only one slight change. So next one we're going to do is multiplication. So we're going to do df multiply, copy paste that, and the only difference here is that this time it's going to be multiplication because we're multiplying. Next one we're going to do subtract. this one's only going to be 4. It's going to be addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. In a later video, we might do something a little more complicated like fractions or percentages. But for now, this is what we're going to be dealing with. We're going to change that to subtraction. And then the last one, we're going to do division. Okay, and we're going to change that to a slash. Slash is for division, and asterisk is for multiplication and coding. Okay, so now that we've got the functions, we need one more, which is going to be the clear button, because we need the user to clear their boxes, right? I mean, the numbers can't just stay there forever. So it's very simple. We're just going to have entry 1.delete 0 to end, which means like 0 is the beginning, and then all the way to the end, you know, just the end of the whatever's in that box. And then we're going to do that for all 3 entries. 0, end. Make sure it's all caps or it will not work. Let's do the same thing for entry 3. 0, end. Okay, that's the clear function. Now we're just going to make a few buttons so that user can actually interact with the code and select if they want to multiply, add, divide, subtract, or clear what they already have. So button 1 is going to be for addition. So it's going to be ttk.button instead of entry, because we're making a button this time. And it's going to be the root screen like it was before. And the text, we're going to put add. And the command will also be add as well. This is telling what the button should do, because the command is add, and that refers back to the function, which is called add. And then when it's the function's called back, you have this code right here, and it's going to automatically play that out. So the positioning on the dot grid, we're going to do that on the same line, and the row is going to be 3, the column is going to be 1. Okay, now let's copy paste this line. We're going to copy paste this again just onto the next line. Okay, and we're just going to make another button. So this is going to be button 2, and then the text on this one is going to be multiply, because that's the next operation that we're doing, and that's going to be the same thing as the command. The command is going to be multiply as well. Okay, so now we have we're going to change the row to be row 4, so it moves it down 1 row under. We're going to copy paste again, change this to button 3, and this time we're going to do the text to be subtract. That's the next one, as well as the command. Now you've got to spell them right. You got to spell the function and the command the same way, or it won't work, and you'll most likely have an error depending on what you do wrong. Next, the last operation is going to be the division. So we're going to copy paste this as well, right down here. Change this to button 4. And the text is going to be divide, because that's what we name the function, as well as the command. Row 6. Okay, and now let's make our clear button. It's going to be button 5. Root text will be clear, and the command will be clear as well. And we'll have that on row 7, column 1. Okay, that should be all the code that we need. Let's test it out and see if it works. So yes, we want to save. And there's an invalid syntax. Let's see what it is. Oh, I forgot to put an equal sign. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, so we have our calculator that popped up here. So we have the entry box 1, entry box 2, entry box 3, and all our buttons. Now this is row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5, row 6, and then this is column 1 and 2. Now you could have as many columns and rows as you wanted to. It's just that we only defined 2 rows and 6 columns. I mean, 2 columns and 6 rows, so that's what it shows. So let's actually try the functions. 5 and 6. We add. That gives us 11. It's correct. Now let's clear it. 5 and 6 again. Let's multiply. That gives us 30. 5 and 6. Now you could do any numbers that you want. I'm just doing 5 and 6 because it's I'm just chose to random numbers randomly. That's -1. And then if we did 5 and 6 again, it'd be 0.83. And then we clear that so you could see all the functions are working. So thank you for watching. Please hit the subscribe and like button, and I will see you next time.